Oh, it's all good.
Mhm.
Oh, Catherine doesn't know how to get in.
Oh, hi. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you?
Good. I'm Danny. I'm Novel Effects Librarian and Curator, and this is my lovely colleague Tracy, who
Hi
is
there.
Content Engagement Officer, Manager.
Manager. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're so excited to be with you here today for Week of the Young Child. We're going to be sharing a read along with one of my favorite books. And then Tracy and I will just be here sharing some tips and tricks for, infusing more literacy and literacy practices into your everyday life with your little one.
Oh, Danny, before you start, can you just share
Week of
what
the Young Child is about?
yeah, start there first and then share a little bit about yourself and like what you
Oh,
previously.
yeah. Totally. And then I'll have you do the same
Cool.
because you have a very fun job here too. So, as Novel Effects librarian and curator, I am in charge of everything you see on the app. So, I curate our app layout, I build all of our collections, and then in addition to that, I also work really closely with our composing team in selecting what books we're going to be developing soundscapes for. So, with that, I sometimes get to work with some of our wonderful authors and illustrators, and just get to, spend a lot of time with children's books, which is really the dream, right? Tracy, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for Novel Effect?
Sure. Product engagement. So I get to work really closely with across teams like you do, Danny, and um, do a lot around website design. And Danny and I work really closely together around getting some blog post up around reading tips and tricks, which you can find on there, as well as working closely with our curriculum and content specialist and who creates those amazing activities that are available on our website as well. And a lot of communications things around the app messaging and emails, and I get to work closely with our social media peeps, which is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, Tracy kind of does it all. And she is phenomenal. We work really closely together and I really appreciate it because Tracy also is a librarian and has worked in libraries. So she also has a wealth of knowledge, and also a wealth of knowledge in like communications. That's phenomenal.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's fun to work with you and see all the cool books that you choose that get to go into our app. And I love seeing how you bring your previous library expertise because you were in the children's department, correct? The children's
Yes,
section? Yeah.
I worked primarily with like the birth to 5 age group and then also teens. I actually started in teens and switched. I mean, I was still working with them, but switched also to working with the little guys, which is a whole different world. But
It is, and it's something that you and I have in common because we both worked with little ones and we had a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see about the book you're reading and then what we're going to chat about.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll just real quick just say what Week of the Young Child is if you're not aware of it. It is a week that we use to recognize caregivers, daycares, parents, guardians, pre-K teachers. If you've had any influence on the education of a young child, this week is all about you and celebrating you and giving you resources. I often say it takes a village to raise a child, and we are so excited to be part of that village here at Novel Effect, part of your virtual village, if you will. So happy Week of the Young Child, and if you are, in any of those roles in a kid's life, like give yourself a big old pat on the back and a round of applause, as they say. We also want to point out totally great opportunity for this. It is School Librarian Day. So Tracy, you rock as a former school librarian, and I'm so grateful to have you here on our team. And we are in awe of all the school librarians that use Novel Effect and are part of our user base. Y'all are out there tweeting and putting photos on Instagram of the projects you're doing with Novel Effect and with your kids, and I am constantly blown away by some of your creativity. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just such a wonder to see the way school librarians build a culture in a love for reading in their libraries and across their schools. It's I love seeing all that come through on social.
Yeah, school librarians are in some ways like the backbone of a lot of schools. They're kind of behind the scenes a little bit, but they are doing like so many amazing things. They're a wonderful resource and asset to the schools, and all of our little learners are so fortunate to have them. So shout out to them today. But we'll go ahead and do our quick little read aloud, and then we'll talk a little bit about why we chose this book and some of our favorite interactive titles. So I'm going to be reading The Button Book today by Sally Nichols. It is one of my favorite books. You'll see why in a sec, but I'm just going to get it queued up here, and then we'll hear our little novel effect chime in a second. There we go. The Button Book. Here's a red button. I wonder what happens when you press it. Beep. Wow. Here's an orange button. What does the orange button do? Let's see. It's a clapping button. Everybody clap. What happens when you press the blue button? Wow. It's a singing button. 3, 2, 1. Does it know any other songs?
Let's sing again later.
Shall we press the green button now? What was that? It's a raspberry button. How rude. Can you make another noise, please? Excuse me, say you're sorry at once. I'm warning you. This is your last chance. Well, if you're going to be like that, we're going to press the yellow button instead. That one looks like a button too, like a button. It's a bouncing button. Everybody bounce. Help! Press the pink button or we'll be bouncing forever. Oh, hooray, it's a hug button. Hug time. That's the best button of all.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I think we should stop here. I don't think you want to press the next button. Do you? You do, Tracy?
Maybe a little.
Maybe a little. Do you want to press the next button? Are you sure? Are you really sure? Really sure? All right, then. Press the purple button.
Okay.
It's a tickle button! Tickle attack! Please press the pink button quick. Hey, this is hug time. Hug time. Much better. Oh no, it's that rude green button again. Have you learned any manners yet? The blue button. What should we sing this time?
1, 2, 3, 4. Twinkle, twinkle, little star,
I think that's my favorite button. Back to the red button again. Do you remember what noise it makes? Beep. Beep. Look, it's a new button. What does the white button do? It's a sleeping button. Good night, everyone. And that is The Button Book. That is one of my all-time favorite books. I was so excited when we added it to the app. The green button with the rude raspberries is just Oh, so fun. Tracy, what are some of your favorite interactive titles to use?
Let's see. Well, we have two in our app that I absolutely love. One is Tap the Magic Tree. I absolutely love that book, and magic is correct, just the magic that happens and shows throughout the seasons. And I don't know about you, Danny, but I love how it just puts kids in the driver's seat and participating in making the leaves and the flowers and everything fall down and then reappear and helping them teach the seasons. I just think it's so much fun.
That is one of my favorites too. It has captured my heart. I want to add more books from that author because she has a ton. But the part where you like, wiggle your fingers and you
Mhm.
pat the buds very softly and blow. Oh, it's so great. I
So
love that one so
awesome.
much. Yeah.
Uh, I know you've heard me talk about this one a lot. I also really love Mix It Up. I love the soundscape for that one a lot.
Mhm.
Um, it is just beautiful and dynamic and very, very. It's a very unique soundscape
Mhm.
for what we do, and we do some pretty cool and unique things.
Yeah, we actually worked with a fantastic a cappella artist who also does some beatboxing. And he really was the main like instrument on that soundscape. He vocalized all of it and it is just that one blew me out of the water when we when we reviewed it. It is really, really fantastic. I love that one too. I'm personally very partial to Go Away Big Green Monster.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Ed Emberley's classic Go Away Big Green Monster. I think that's a great one, especially for like around Halloween, because you are, you're summoning this monster and then you're vanishing him away piece by piece. It's got little cutouts in the book. It's a great one for discussing shapes and colors and that sort of thing. They're all just so much fun. We love interactive titles here. I think, Tracy, I feel like they're very effective because they are some of the most engaging things you can do. You're asking the kid to interact directly with the story, right?
Yeah, and like this one, pressing the button,
Mhm.
right, is and it's very similar in Tap the Magic Tree, is very in Mix It Up, Press Here, all those books. It is in Go Away, but you're encouraging them and helping them understand that words have meaning behind it,
Mhm.
which is such a nice, concrete, powerful way to teach those beginning literacy skills. I think they're so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before you and I got on the live stream, we were talking about some of the practices you use with your own kiddo for infusing some of those literacy skills like word recognition. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Because some of those were really creative, everyday ways of just infusing literacy in, the things you're just doing every day, running errands, going,
Mhm.
grocery store.
Yeah. We named everything we saw for him and would point things out to him. We labeled a lot of stuff around the house, so, that everything had, like, door had the word door on it, and so we would say it and read it when we would go over to it. Window had window on it, so everything was labeled. And then just running errands, we would go into the store, we would say what things were, we would answer all of his questions. And even when we were driving, we'd be like, oh, that's a stop sign. It says stop, STOP. So we would do things like that. And can I share a really cool story with you?
Oh, absolutely.
So
Please do.
one day we were waiting in line, I think outside waiting for Kohl's of all places
Mhm.
to open. And there was and he must have been just over a year, and he's like, "Mommy, that says do not enter." And I was like, "What? How do you know that?" I was like, "Say that again." And he wouldn't say it again. But it was the coolest thing to see,
Mhm.
that early literacy and recognition. Um, and it's even things of like the golden arches are early literacy, brand
Mhm.
recognition, like all of those things it helps them understand that letters and words are symbols and they have meaning behind them. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's so phenomenal. Um I am now thinking about breaking out my label maker. I do not have children, but I do have a label maker in my
Mhm.
and I love any chance to use it. So I love that idea of labeling everything in the house, not just for organization's sake, but for encouraging that literacy, the letter recognition, the word recognition. Like that is really, really cool.
When you used to, because I know you ran a lot of programs when you were at the library. So what were some ways that you built in some early literacy with the children when you would run your programs for early childhood?
One of my favorite things to do, was we did a lot of, like, passive matching games, so I would have a big program, and we'd have several different stations, and most of them were very, like, hands-on interactive, and we would have some others that were maybe a little bit quieter for some of the kids that just, like, needed to be away from the crowd for a minute, and those were letter matching, so we would have them, match the pig to the mud puddle if we had a, like, dirty, messy themed, story time, that sort of thing. I really, really enjoyed that. That was one of my favorites. We also, did a lot of, like, programming around, like, having the parents, like, hold their little ones as they read and would sometimes even have their own copies of the books. We would sing a lot, in baby story time especially. I don't think you always think about songs being part of literacy, but, as you're singing, you're usually breaking down the sounds of a word because you're singing them out slowly or you're trying to follow the melody, and that can really help, connect those bridges in our little ones' brains of, like, the different sound parts of a word, and teaches them new words too, there's something to really be said, especially for, like, repetition in songs and books. I know that,
Mhm.
it can drive parents crazy to read the same books or sing the same songs over and over and over again, but your child really benefits from that because 'cause they're pulling out new vocabulary words every time, and it's reinforcing, every time they're listening to that song, every time you're reading Goodnight Moon for the 100th time, like, it's just reinforcing those vocabulary words and those, letter recognition sort of things that they're experiencing. So, those are things I always encourage.
Yeah.
I never got around to trying it myself, but I know some librarians used to have very intense story time schedules where they would read the same book. They'd have, like, 4 books they'd read, and they would always incorporate 1 book throughout the month. They'd do it over and over with each story time. And at first I was like, "Why?" But once I kind of recognized what they were doing, I just thought it was such a great idea, and it also makes a child feel very, sort of accomplished if
Mhm.
able to, be like, "I know that book, I know that story," and they're able to, like, follow along with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and fill in some of the more you read it, the more they can fill in what's going to happen next,
Mhm.
and because they know the pattern and the repetition, which is which is really, comforting for them. It gives them, predictability is a very, very comforting thing for young children, so it's really
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I also feel it's why you see so many stories that, have the predictability already built in. It's a recognizable format. It makes us feel comfortable, even as adults. How many books have we read that's just the hero's journey over and over again?
Oh,
We
for
love
sure.
that. Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
100%.
Um, when you were reading the Button book, I was immediately, so that's actually the first time I've read or heard that book was with you reading it. So and I loved it. And I was, of course, the librarian and educator in me is like, "Oh, this is another way I would get children
Mhm,
involved in participating in the story." Um, so oftentimes when I don't know, and I would love to hear how you would engage kids in interactive books, like when you're reading to a large group.
mhm,
I know I would randomly sometimes pick children to come and, like, press the red dot or to do what was gonna come next, and then we would all do the clapping and things like that, and it was a lot of fun, and they couldn't wait to see, like, who was gonna be the next one to touch the book, and they loved that. But with this one, I was also thinking how great it would be to have the colored tiles out in front of them to help them with that color recognition so that maybe children who wanted to participate and come up can, and the ones who wanted to just do it by themselves would still have that option to still do some color matching if they wanted to.
That's a fantastic idea. I could see my library system, especially with the birth to 5 age group, we used a lot of flannels. So like felt pieces that we had cut out, and usually we had a set amount, we'd put them on the board and only the librarian would touch them. But this would be a great opportunity if a person had time to cut out like a set of 20 of each different button, so each child would have their own button in front of them they could push. Like, that'd be so fun. But yeah, this book is so, like, it seems very simple on the outset, but like it is jam packed with like opportunities, like you said, talking about colors and shapes, talking about the songs in the book. Like, I think it'd be great to like pause and just like sing the song together. Like, I think that's always fun.
Yeah.
That's a great way. I mean, you can talk about manners a little bit with the raspberry button, and talk about when we make a raspberry naturally, the things that we need to say. So yeah, that's one thing I love about like books like this is, on their surface they seem pretty simple, fun,
Yeah.
simple, and they can end up being a very like rich source of various education materials. There's so many directions you can go with this.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I, as a librarian, I loved using novel effect when I read aloud, because it makes all books interactive. And when it's an interactive book like this, it does bring it to the next level, because you're using interactive books to help kids make print meaning connections, and to see like when I read, I make something happen in the story. And I think the soundscapes do such a great job of helping facilitate that understanding for them.
Absolutely. I mean, novel effect really takes books that are wonderful books in their own right and
Yeah.
adds another layer of engagement and interactivity to them. I also love that like you can add that, and then you can stop and talk while you're reading, and the app will just kind of hang out in the background. Or if you have like a longer thing you need to do, like say I want to stop and I want to sing row 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 your boat 4 times over with my kids, I can pause and we can sing row 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 your boat, and then we can unpause and we're right back where we were in the soundscape. And it just offers so many different avenues.
Yeah.
So much. So yeah, I also am very, very into that. Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really get to talk beyond what Week of the Young Child is, but one thing I wanted to just add real quick before we sign off is this week we have so many different resources all over our website, on our blog, with our like printable activities. If you hop on the app, we've got a collection there, especially for Week of the Young Child. Check out our socials. We've got some really fantastic things on there as well. We're really using this week not only to give a big shout out to our our young children caregivers, our educators, but also to talk about our favorite 5 practices that we love to use to help encourage literacy in every moment of our lives. So those are read, talk, play, sing, and write. If you hop on our blog, we've written up some fantastic ideas and how to incorporate that. We've also got a fun album on our Instagram page, and our Facebook.
There are some more surprises going on our social too all week, but I can't. Yeah. So go to Twitter and Instagram to find out more.
Oh, I think I know what surprises you're talking about. Yeah.
Our social team has been cooking up some good stuff over there.
Yeah, please go follow us. We've got a lot of great resources, not just this week, but year round. Our team is so passionate about what we do, and we love sharing tips and tricks, and sometimes fun little things where you can get like prizes occasionally. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Tracy, anything else you want to add before we say goodbye for the day?
Just as always, it's lots of fun to listen to you read. I know not everybody gets a chance to do this, but I get to hear you read at least once a week. So it is such a joy and a thrill for me. And it does make me like, you saw me rocking out while you were reading and like getting involved. And that's, I could tell you were a really cool and good librarian because that's how I feel when I listen to you read. So I'm sure, yeah, I'm always happy in here for your read alouds.
I love listening to you too. You always like your tone and inflection, like you make read alouds like a very warm, cozy experience. And that's one of my favorite things. It really takes me back to when I was a little kid sitting on the carpet squares. You've got the good read aloud vibes for sure. We need to get you on here reading something. Maybe press here, mix it up sometime. That would be great. We do have another live stream coming up this Friday, by the way, for Unicorn Day. So check us out on Friday, watch our pages, and we will be here reading a fun unicorn story.
Yes, we will. Or
Yeah.
horn.
Horn stories. We can't forget those narwhals. Cannot. No.
No.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out today, Tracy. We'll have to do it again soon.
Definitely. Thanks for having me come and join you. I had a blast.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks.